On a cold November afternoon in 1970, a father and his two young daughters were hiking in a lonely valley outside the Norwegian city of Bergen. The place was called Isdalen, the Ice Valley. Locals also had a darker name for it. They called it Death Valley. The valley had a reputation for suicides and strange accidents. The fog there hangs low, and sound seems to die in the trees. As the family moved over the rocks, one of the girls noticed a strange smell. Then she saw something on the ground and screamed. Lying among the stones was the burned body of a woman. Her front was badly charred, but her back was much less damaged. Her hands were pulled up toward her chest, and her clothes were partly melted into her skin. Whoever she was, someone had tried very hard to erase her. This is the story of the woman the world now calls the Isdal Woman. It is one of Europe's strangest and most haunting cold cases. Before we go further, remember that this episode discusses a real, unsolved death. Listener discretion is advised. In this story, we will talk about confirmed details from the investigation. We will also talk about theories and speculation that developed over time. Those theories are shared for documentary-style entertainment and discussion. They are not presented as proven fact. When police arrived at the scene in Isdalen, they quickly realized this was not a normal hiking accident. The woman lay on her back on a slope of loose rocks. Her front was badly burned, but the ground beneath her and much of her back showed little damage from the fire. Around the body, they found the remains of a small fire. There was a burned liqueur bottle and 2 melted plastic bottles. They found pieces of clothing and a fur-lined hat that smelled strongly of petrol. It looked as if someone had poured fuel, lit the fire, and walked away. What disturbed the investigators most was not only the fire. It was the effort to remove every clue that could have told them who she was. Every label had been cut out of her clothing. There was no handbag, no wallet, no jewelry, and no passport anywhere near the scene. The autopsy gave a few more details, but no clear answers. The woman was thought to be in her 30s. She was around 1.60 meters tall, or just over 5'3". She had dark brown hair and small brown eyes. Her teeth showed unusual gold and porcelain dental work. The dental work did not match typical Norwegian dentistry at the time. Inside her lungs, the doctors found soot. That meant she was still breathing when the fire began. She had not been burned after death. She had inhaled smoke as the flames spread across her body. Her official cause of death was recorded as carbon monoxide poisoning combined with an overdose of sleeping pills. She had taken a barbiturate drug called phenmyl. Investigators believed she swallowed somewhere between 50 and 70 tablets before she died. Some of the tablets were still undigested in her stomach. Near her body, officers found an empty blister pack that had once held the same type of pills. On paper, the scene looked like a suicide. There were pills, alcohol, fire. But the people working the case were not completely convinced. Something about the scene felt too controlled. It looked less like a desperate act and more like a carefully arranged picture. They needed more information, and they were about to get it. 3 days later, police found 2 suitcases left at the railway station in Bergen. Ticket stubs showed they belonged to the woman in Isdalen. When officers opened them, the same strange pattern continued. They found clothing, but again the labels had been cut out. There were several pairs of shoes, a hairbrush, makeup, and a bottle of skin cream from a pharmacy in Belgium. There were coins from different countries and Norwegian money hidden in the lining of one suitcase. They found several large German banknotes in Deutschmarks. The most mysterious object in the suitcases was a small notebook. Inside, pages were filled with short lines of letters and numbers. At first, it looked like a code. The entries did not read like normal diary writing, but they were not random marks either. When investigators studied the notebook more closely, they realized it was a kind of travelogue. Each line recorded dates and places. Using the notes, train tickets, and hotel documents, police began to map out her movements. A strange travel pattern appeared. Over several months, the woman had checked into hotels across Europe and Norway under multiple false names. The names sounded Belgian or European, but the addresses she wrote down did not exist. On forms, she claimed to be Belgian and often said she worked in sales. Hotel staff remembered her. She wore stylish clothes and sometimes fashionable boots and scarves. Many said she often wore wigs. At some hotels, she had short, dark hair. At others, she appeared with longer hair. She changed her look as easily as she changed her name. Witnesses also disagreed about her voice. Some thought she spoke German. Others heard a hint of French or a Central European accent. Several people noticed that she always seemed alert and cautious. She watched the people around her and rarely relaxed in public spaces. One guest remembered that her room smelled strongly of perfume and garlic. Another remembered that she sometimes ate alone and stared out of the window as if she were thinking about leaving again. No one ever saw her with a normal suitcase full of personal clutter. From one point of view, a simple story was possible. She might have been a troubled woman running from someone or something in her life. She used false identities to avoid being followed. She moved from hotel to stay ahead of whoever she feared. In that version, Isdalen was the place where she finally decided to end everything. Norway has strong privacy laws, and at the time, there was pressure to avoid turning the case into a media scandal. On paper, the file was eventually marked as a complicated suicide. Still, even at the time, many people involved in the case did not fully believe that version. There were too many unanswered questions. Why remove every label? Why hide money in a suitcase lining? Why choose such a painful and complicated way to die? One hiker later reported that he may have seen the Isdal Woman alive in the days before her body was found. He said he saw a woman who looked like her walking on a trail near the valley. She was not dressed for the cold conditions and seemed out of place on the mountain. According to his account, two men in coats were walking behind her at a distance. He said it looked as if she might want to speak, but she did not. When he tried to share this memory with police at the time, he claims he was told to stay quiet and forget about it. If his memory is accurate, then the Isdal woman might not have gone into Death Valley alone. This helped give rise to one of the most famous theories about her. Because of the time period, many people began to wonder if she had been a spy during the Cold War. It was the year 1970. Europe was divided. Intelligence agencies from east and west watched each other in the shadows. Norway, with its long coastline and military testing sites, was more important than it looked at first glance on a map. Some of the places the woman stayed were near Norwegian military facilities. Some researchers believe her travels lined up with tests of a new anti-ship missile system. She used multiple identities, moved between countries, carried cash, and left few personal traces. The wigs, the glasses, and the careful removal of labels all looked like the tools of someone trained to avoid being tracked. Years later, journalists found hints that Norwegian intelligence services may have taken a quiet interest in the case and some of the evidence. A man in France later came forward and said he believed he had once dated the Isdal Woman. He remembered her as intelligent, reserved, and secretive. She spoke several languages, but almost never shared personal details. She received phone calls from abroad. He suspected that she might be involved in espionage, but at the time, he was too unsure and too afraid to go to the police. If his story is true, it adds another layer to the idea that she was involved in covert work. Still, there is no public proof of her role. Not everyone believes she was a spy. Some people think she may have been involved in organized crime instead. She could have been a courier, moving money, documents, or other items across borders. The hidden cash and constant travel could fit that world as well. Others suggest she may have been working in high-end sex work. In that world, clients and workers often value anonymity. False names, travel, and different appearances would all be useful. The truth could be a mix of several of these ideas rather than just one. There is also a far darker version of the story. In that version, the woman did not choose to disappear at all. Someone else removed the labels from her clothes. Someone else planned the scene in Death Valley and staged the fire to look like a desperate suicide. In that possibility, she is not a spy who took her own life, but a victim of other people's secrets. We do not know which, if any, of these theories is correct. What we do know is that the official story never fully satisfied the people who worked the case. For decades, the Isdal Woman lay in an unmarked grave in Bergen. She was buried in a zinc coffin so her body could be exhumed in the future. Her grave marker did not carry a name. It simply acknowledged that an unknown woman was buried there. Over time, the case faded from public memory. New crimes and new mysteries took the attention of police and the media. The files gathered dust in archives. But for some people, especially local officers and journalists, the story never really let go. In the 2010s, interest in the Isdal Woman returned. A joint investigation by Norwegian broadcaster NRK and the BBC reopened the case. Her body was exhumed. Scientists took DNA samples and carried out new tests that had not been possible in the 1970s. One of those tests was isotope analysis on her teeth and bones. This method looks at chemical traces to estimate where a person may have grown up. The results suggested she had probably spent her early life in Central or Eastern Europe, not in Norway or Belgium. A forensic artist created new facial reconstructions based on her skull and old photographs. These images were shared across Europe and beyond. People began to contact investigators. Some thought they recognized the woman. Others shared stories of similar strangers. A few people believed she might have been a neighbor, a friend of a friend, or someone they had met in a hotel long ago. None of these leads has been confirmed. To this day, no one has stepped forward with proof of her real identity or her true past. And so, the Isdal Woman remains officially unknown. She has no confirmed birthplace, no confirmed family, and no confirmed history. All we have are movements on paper, objects in a suitcase, and the burned remains found in that cold valley in Norway. It is easy to talk about her as if she were only a puzzle. It is tempting to treat her like a character from a spy novel or a ghost story from the Cold War. But before she was a mystery, she was a living person trying to move through the world. She chose clothes in front of a mirror. She checked into hotel rooms and turned keys indoors. She ordered food in restaurants and watched other people pass by. Someone, somewhere, once knew her real name, her real voice, and the way she laughed when she was happy. In the end, we are left with a handful of haunting images. A lonely valley called Death Valley. A woman walking up the path, wearing clothes too light for the cold air. Two men in coats, walking a short distance behind her, just far enough to pretend they were not with her. We see a fire burning among the rocks, a body left on the slope, and smoke drifting into the sky. We see a suitcase sitting in a railway station, labels scraped away, but secrets still hidden inside. Officially, the story is closed with the word suicide. Unofficially, people still whisper about spies, criminal networks, and victims of hidden crimes. The truth is probably somewhere between these stories. For now, it lies where she was found, in the ice valley that gave her case its name. This has been True Crime Thursday, and the story of the woman we still only know as the Isdal Woman, until someone steps forward with the truth. Her real name will remain buried in shadows, and Death Valley will keep its most famous secret.